hockey's been so good to me. It's taught me more in my life about relationships, about leadership, about failures and success. It's taught me how to handle people, how to deal with alpha males, how to be in a situation where everything goes wrong, even though you did everything right and you tried as hard as you could and you still completely failed, how you win games that you don't do. Like, it's taught me so much and taken my family and I all over the world.
Every week here on More Than Profit, we explore the stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and investors who have made a difference in the world while building successful businesses. We sit down with each guest and dive into their personal journey, their struggles and triumphs, and the lessons they've learned along the way.
On this episode, we sit down with Shane Doan, who was the last NHL player remaining from the original Winnipeg Jets, a team that selected him with the number 7 pick in the 1995 NHL Draft at the age of 16. 1 year later, the team relocated to Arizona to become the Phoenix Coyotes. He retired after the 2016-2017 season as the Coyotes' all-time leader in games played, goals, assists, and points, and the Coyotes retired his number 19 on February 24, 2019. In international competition, Doan represented Canada and won 5 medals, 2 gold, 3 silver, at the World Championships. He helped Canada win the World Cup Championship in 2004 and was also a member of Canada's 2006 Winter Olympic team. Now as a special advisor to the general manager for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Shane continues his hockey career in the front office, bringing his decades of passion and experience on the ice to transforming how teams care for players and their families more broadly. When not on the ice, Shane can be found in his saddle, chasing his second love of being a cowboy that was instilled in him while growing up in the Circle Square Ranch in Alberta, Canada. A place he learned hard work, humility, and what it means to truly serve, no matter what role you may hold. His parents instilled this lesson of excellence in everything and humility in leadership. No matter the person, no matter the role, hard work and sacrifice are the hallmark of leadership.
I was excited to sit down with our guest today. We've met a couple times, but I don't really know him.
Yeah.
You know him really well.
Oh, dude, he's like a best friend to me.
Yeah.
Couldn't get through the gate, but he was best friend.
Exactly right.
But I am on the permanent list now.
You are on the permanent list now.
So Bryce, who is the most famous person you have on your phone?
I don't have any famous people in my phone.
Nobody. Mine would be our guest, probably be my most. But when I say that, probably the most famous person I know that I could call up if I was in trouble and need to borrow money, which I might need to do. So our guest today is Shane Doan. So Shane played 22 years with the Phoenix Coyotes. And really, I don't know how many years ago we got to know each other, but just really enjoyed Shane as a person. And so, Shane, who is the most famous person you have in your phone right now?
Put him on the spot.
Yeah, I don't know. Wayne Gretzky's obviously. Wayne Gretzky.
Whoa.
Mostly probably athletes right now. Wayne Gretzky, Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just saying this, it is that thing where I feel like I know Shane. Now, I've seen Shane in numerous settings, and the thing I love about Shane Doan is Shane is the same person regardless of where he's at.
With.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just treats people amazing. So,
a lot of people can just Google your name. So your bio is pretty much everywhere. So I actually want to start. What's not on your bio that has shaped you? Like the person you are today. Like if you think about, growing up or whatever, but like Google whatever, but what's not there that you would point to as something that's really shaped who you are?
Growing up on Circle Square Ranch was probably the biggest influence on me.
Okay, you say that nobody knows what that is because you had to tell me. So tell the listeners what that ranch is.
So my grandfather and my uncle donated the land to build a camp for kids in the middle of nowhere, Alberta, Central Alberta. My dad and my mom had just graduated from Bible school. My dad had played hockey and then had decided that was enough and then had just decided to move home to help build the ranch. And my dad, he'd been working on construction sites and stuff like that. So he's like, I'll come home and help build the ranch and see if we can get it going. He said he'd be there for 2 years and they're still on the property. And that was in 76. So
wow.
Yeah.
And I think you grew up on the ranch?
Yeah, I grew up on it. And it was funny because people are like, well, we didn't own it. We were the hired help. My dad was a maintenance man and then the horsemanship director and then the director of the ranch. And we would host people.
You still go back now, right?
Oh, yeah. And it's a big part of our life still. My 2 youngest kids went back and worked on the property, on the ranch. And it's a great spot. It's an unbelievable spot that had the biggest influence just because of the men And the women that went through the ranch had such a huge influence. They were incredible people. That had, without a doubt, the biggest influence, just that group of people. And then the fact that it's in such a unique area. Our hometown has 75 people in it.
Yeah. Wow.
And we live 8 miles from town on gravel roads. So like you get to a town of 75 people, there's not a lot going on. You go another 8 miles on gravel roads, there's really not much going on. So,
but when you say all that, so you started your career playing hockey early. So you were 16, or how old were you when you left?
Yeah. I turned 16 in that October. I left in that summer in 15.
And that's normal. I mean, the people who play hockey understand that's how it works.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously different paths and it's always unique, but the situation I was in, that's what we had to do. And not that I had to do, but that I had the opportunity to. And so I did, which was really cool.
But then you went to the big city, right?
Yeah. But see, that's all in my bio. So that I went to,
exactly.
I went to Kamloops, the big city of Kamloops, British Columbia.
But so when you say that, because I didn't understand hockey until getting to know you, and even the funny.
Do you understand it now?
No, come on, dude. Shut up. Yeah, no, I don't. You're the closest thing to hockey. I still have him in my phone as Shane Hockey Guy. So I met him, and we spent 2 days together. I mocked him the whole time.
Yes, you did.
And we were in this board meeting, and I was like, "Hey, this is Shane. He's this famous hockey player." And there were 3 people in there who raised their hand and were like, "Mr. Doan, I have a jersey signed. I have a,
It was single. It might have been the greatest moment that I've ever experienced of being like someone knew somebody, because he was making fun of me saying like, "How do you want me to introduce you as a great hockey player?" Okay. And I'm like, "Oh my goodness." We really just kind of got to know each other. And then somebody at the table held up their hands like, "I actually have one of your sticks, Shane.
Yeah.
You signed it for me." I was so happy to see somebody that actually would verify who I was for a second. It was great.
So Laura and I spent 2 days with him, and we actually had so much fun together, but it was in that moment that I was like, "Oh shoot, he really is somebody." and then when I got back to Arizona and I said his name, I didn't know his last name, and they were like, "That's Shane Doan." And I just remember going, "Yeah. What does that mean?" And then I Googled him and found out what his net worth was and all those other things. And it was amazing.
Which is always way off.
Which is a whole nother discussion. Yeah.
So what kind of job, like, so Circle Square Ranch, I'm sure it was all hands on deck.
Yep.
Like, what were some of the jobs you liked? What were some of the jobs you didn't like?
You know what? I got to trail ride. So I would take trail rides. During the summer, we have about 50 head of horses. And so you take out trail rides every day. So I enjoyed working at the barn. And in my family, it was always the joke was either a hockey player or a cowboy. I wasn't tough enough to be a cowboy.
You got a good name for it, though.
Yeah, I do. And I wasn't tough enough to be a cowboy, so I had to be a hockey player to get by. But yeah, I did that. I really enjoyed working at the barn and doing all that. But then we'd also do recreation, like we do games with the kids and different stuff like that. So you learn to do programming, you learn to do all that. The part I didn't like about it, so on Saturdays, we do a rodeo. We do a big rodeo on Saturdays. Everyone would leave, and then Sundays, everyone would come back. So everyone would stay for a week, and then Saturdays was like clean up the whole place. And it was probably the thing that I always say and joke. Like, my dad was very prominent on the property and an incredible man. My dad is truly an amazing, most godly man I've ever met. Him and I would literally be cleaning out the bathrooms and washing, cleaning toilets and washing the bathrooms and the stalls and stuff. And not an ounce of "why are we doing this" in him, not an ounce. And he thought it was great, like enjoyed it, laughed, have fun, do it. And that was probably one of the best examples I've ever seen. And he kind of ran the place, but at the same time, he'd be the first one picking up garbage and cleaning out bathrooms and doing stuff that I couldn't believe we were doing.
So, because you have siblings, how many siblings do you have?
I have a brother and a sister, both younger.
So I met his brother, and then Bryce, you and I watched that show. Remember?
Oh, yeah. So what was the name? I couldn't remember. I was trying to find the name of the show.
Man Tracker.
Mantracker.ca.
Mantracker.
So if
we're going to put that in the show notes.
Yeah, you have to. So I've never seen. I've been around athletes, but like, you have a grit to you of not giving up. Because even on that show where I'm like, it's 2 days, you're being tracked by a guy on a horse, you and your brother are running. I made fun of your brother because he was not as athletic as you, but he is very athletic. But it was like, you ran up a hill, then ran back down the hill, then ran back up the hill. And I just thought, it was crazy watching, like, you were not going to give up.
No, that wasn't an option.
So where do you get that grit from? Like, where do you
Oh man, so my dad always joked that if you enjoy working hard, every day's a holiday. That was his favorite line. And so just enjoy working hard. So if it gets hard, you enjoy it. The harder it gets, the more you enjoy it. That was kind of the philosophy that he kind of lived by. And I by no means have the same determination as him, but that's kind of what was instilled in us.
I'm just saying, you watch that Tracker show and you will see grit, because in the McKay household, it was not that. It was if things get hard, look for something else. So, yeah.
Well, so the other question I had, so your dad, so I want to stick on your dad a little bit, because I think sometimes people talk and they didn't have great home lives, and it sounds like you had a really formative one. You come by hockey honestly because your dad also, correct me if I'm wrong, played professionally.
Yep.
But then, ended up back at Square Ranch. And so talk to me about his influence on you. And
it's so funny. So Dad had a dream. This is like the way that God works, and for me, I'm always fascinated by that. He thought he was going to work with youth. So he played hockey at 21. He's like, you know what? This is 20 or 21. He's like, I only play because it's fun. He's like the biggest man of principles you'll ever meet. And he's like, if it's not fun, I'm not playing anymore. So I'm going home. They called, and he was really good, really good. And they called and yelled at him. And back then they treated you differently.
So better than you?
Yeah. He was a defenseman.
Okay.
And so,
you said that with disgust. But anyways.
He was unbelievable. Like that, when I watch him play, he still plays. He played in the over 70 league this year.
Wow.
Badass.
They won Alberta and they went to nationals in the over 70 league.
Wow.
And he's still upset about the fact that they had to play an extra game because one of the teams dropped out because some of their guys couldn't. And anyways, it's a long story. I don't need to get into it. But anyways, he ended up quitting, going to Bible school. At Bible school, decided he got ordained. He wanted to work with kids. So after he's ordained, graduates at Bible school, goes to Vancouver to be a youth pastor. He gets there, and he said it couldn't have been a more epic failure than you could ever imagine. Like, he's like, I'm from the farm. I'm like this kind of, just not connecting in any way possible with these people, with these kids. And that was his dream, and he thought that's what God wanted him to do. Long story short is the ranch has probably had more of an influence on young people in central Alberta than pretty much anywhere else. We'd have 1,500 kids come through in a summer, and Dad was there for every single one and had an impact. And we were in Europe, in Davos, in Bern, Switzerland, and some people came up and they're like, oh my goodness, Bernie, hey, Bernie and Bernice, that's their names. And I went to Circle Square, and like he had an impact on so many youths. But if you had just went by the fact that how badly he failed as a youth pastor, he said it's one of those things that,
Well, I think environment matters. Obviously you put him back on the ranch, and
then he was like,
yeah, that makes sense.
Well, and I think that lesson of failure, because I think a lot of times you had a great career, longest serving captain, I think still today in the NHL, the number of wins you've had,
I had the most losses too.
But that's what I want to get to. Like, I think in sports specifically, there's great wins.
Yeah.
Hitting that game-winning puck
at
the championship game.
Yeah.
But there's horrible losses.
Oh yeah.
So how did you learn to kind of cope with the disappointment that came with just being a hockey player?
And the high highs and low lows that go with that.
Yeah. No, yeah. You know what? For me, it was weird. We didn't have the best team very often in Arizona. We kind of struggled along. So we kind of always had to kind of kick the finish line further down the way. Like, you're like, okay, we didn't win this year, but we're getting better. So next year we have a chance. And I think that's kind of just being a fan of the team, and I'd become a fan since I'd been here so long that I think I was a fan of the team, and there's always that kind of next year's the year we're going to do it.
But so you never won a Stanley Cup?
No.
Thanks. And that's but again,
You came close. Yeah. I remember one year.
One year I came relatively close.
Really, yeah.
Not as close as most people,
but so is that something? Now you're washed up has-been. Is that like something that just bothers you? You don't even think about it.
It bothers me, but I played with some people that were classified as winners, and I played with some people that were classified as losers. And I realized how wrong the public perception was. Like, I was like, well, that couldn't be further from the truth. No. This guy is 100% a winner that I would want on my team in every single situation. And the other person was somebody that you're like, yeah, they won, but I mean, it was probably a little bit more fortunate. So you couldn't really, I never really, at the end of my career was like, I wanted to win without a doubt, and I still do, but it's not something that I'm going to haunt me.
So I know stories, especially sports stories, are awesome. Could you give us a couple of stories, ones that come to mind, like one of your biggest highs in the NHL, and then maybe even one of the lows that, maybe you learned something through?
Yeah. I think everybody that scores your first goal is probably as big a high as there is.
Do you remember it?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wish you could have seen his face. He was like a small child. He got all excited.
I was terrible in the game. I remember how I was sitting on the bench about 3 minutes before I scored. I was a high pick. I went in the 7th overall.
You don't want to toot your own horn, but that was fair.
Yeah, I was a higher
But there's
pick.
a lot of expectation.
Yeah. And I made the team as an 18-year-old.
Wow.
Which doesn't happen too often, but I was fortunate that they wanted me, so they kept me. But I didn't score in the first 17 games. Whoa. And it was starting to get a little anxious. And I was starting to be like, oh my goodness, this is not going well. And we were playing Chicago, who had a great team. So Chris Chelios and Gary Suter and Ed Belfour and Steve Smith and Jeremy Roenick and
Jeremy.
Oh yeah, and Tony Amonte and all these great players. And we're playing them. They had a really good team at the time. And I wasn't playing very well, and I wasn't playing very much either. And I remember sitting on the bench being like, well, maybe I'm not supposed to score in this league. Maybe this is as far as it goes. And I get the puck which I was surprised I was on the ice with about 4 or 5 minutes left in the game. Catch a puck, come up the ice, cut in front of Chelios, kind of go across in front of Chelios and Suter, who are both Hall of Fame players.
Yeah.
And as I cut across, I take a shot. I kind of get underneath one of their sticks and I get a little bit of space and I take a shot. It goes back against the grain, hits the post, and goes in on Eddie Belfour from just on a 1-on-2, which I should have dumped the puck. I shouldn't have tried to make the play.
But you're desperate at this point.
Well, yeah. And I wasn't probably thinking as clearly as I should have been because, and it goes in. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is unbelievable.
I can do it.
I can do it. And then it must have been maybe 3 minutes left in the game. Teemu Selanne, and that made it 4-3. Then Teemu Selanne scores to tie the game with 17 seconds left. And then I get a shift in overtime, which surprised me. And I score in overtime to win the game.
Wow.
And so it was like,
stop it.
I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm okay. I'm going to be able to play. And then I was like, yeah, it was great.
So at 18 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was 19 then. I'd turned 19.
That's powerful.
Yeah. But that was one of those moments. You dream about playing in the NHL and you dream about scoring your first goal. And then once I scored, that was amazing. And then I didn't really see that second one coming, but then that was fun. And then I think as a player, winning the first round of the playoffs here against Chicago was really special. That was probably as high as it was. Losing the conference final to LA was about as low as it was because I had a little meltdown. But
and what does a meltdown look like for Shane Doan? What do you do when you melt down?
That one was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
So just angry.
I was angry. There was a situation that happened right before the score that I disagreed with the refs on.
Oh, no.
So I might have slashed the boards fairly hard over by the refs. Then I had a little meltdown when they came and interviewed me after the game. And one of my friends played on the other team who I have so much respect for as a player and as a person. But when I play against him and I definitely competed hard against each other and didn't like... And he's in the handshake line because we got to shake hands at the end of the game. And he had hit this guy that was a teammate that I was really close with and blowing his knee out like 10 seconds before they scored the game-winning goal. And I was seeing red. I couldn't kind of get myself to calm down. Like, I'd never been like that. I couldn't. Coach wanted me off the ice. I wasn't leaving the ice. There's no chance I'm leaving the ice. And I was telling him that I was going to kill him and all that. And I couldn't believe the refs had missed it, blah, blah, blah. They drop the puck. They get me off the ice. They drop the puck. They go down and score like within probably 6-7 seconds. So that ends the game. It's in overtime. Ends the game. There goes my chance to win the Stanley Cup. Season's over. Game's over. Everything's over. And I got to shake hands in like 2 minutes with this guy. And as I'm shaking, he comes along. It's Dustin Brown, who I really like. Like people always ask me, we get along. I think he's a great guy. And he comes up and he's like, Donor, sorry about, and he just goes to explain what happened. And I was like, not right now. And he's like, no, I just want to, don't be like that. I'm like, not right now. And as I say with that enthusiasm, I say, not right now. And oomph behind it, the camera zooms in on my face of him and I talking. He was a captain of their team. I was a captain of our team. And they zoom in on my face and all you see is me being like not right now, but you don't know what I'm saying. And everyone's like, oh, he's mad that you don't do that. You don't act like that after a game. And
so you didn't hit him or anything?
No, I didn't him or anything.
But you hit a lot of people.
I hit him a few times before that and a few times after that, but not at that moment. He'd hit me a few times too. Like it's not like a one-way street.
That is one thing about hockey, the fights.
Yeah.
So talking about, I mean, curious about that. Like they are awesome, obviously as a spectator, but you guys have so much emotion. But what is that like to play? And oftentimes, like you might even be on the same team later.
Yeah.
What is that? What is that about?
One of the best stories I have is one of the guys that the reason I met my wife, his name's Jason Strudwick. Him and I, that's how I met my wife. Very good friends, really still to this day. Played junior hockey together. We did everything together. It was like one of his first games in the NHL, or his first year in the NHL. He runs over one of my teammates here when I was with the Coyotes. He was in Vancouver. And we end up fighting right against the glass, right beside my in-laws, sitting on the glass. And it was one of those things that it's weird because people in the U.S., when I got down here, were like, I'd go to church or whatever, and they'd be like, you had a fight last night. Like, you fought last night. Like, yeah, that's part of our game. Like, that's okay.
Just part of it.
Yeah, and like with the fight with Jason was one of those, it's a weird thing because it's a huge respect thing. Because when I decided that maybe we can fight here, I didn't do that. He ran over my teammate. I skated over. I tapped him on the pants. He turned around, looked at me like he was expecting someone, saw that it was me, but we're in front of 17,000 people now. And it's like, hey, this is part of the game. Like, he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So then we ended up fighting. But it was one of those moments that if he'd said like, he could have easily been like, no, get out of here. You're not worth my time. It would have been the most disrespectful thing to do to me. Like, you're not worth my time. Or I said it to him like, get out of here. You're not worth me fighting.
Yeah.
And so there was an element of respect that went with it that was, and I think everyone has a desire for respect. And in that moment, it was respectful. It was my time and my attention was being placed on him. And he was likewise. And we were laughing about it.
Sure.
Like not laughing, but like we were chirping each other in the penalty box about, he asked me if I had pillows on my hands. I thought he was, was he trying and stuff like that.
So, because I have to say, I had the privilege of being in Payson when you did that camp with some of the players of the Coyotes couple of years ago. And what was hysterical is some of the players were showing me how they fight, like how you pull down on the jersey, but then you have your hand free, but it pulls their strong hand down. And I'm like, it was like a dance. It was one of those things. And they practice it though, because one guy was this Russian guy. He goes, this is all I've been practicing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, see, in the fight, Jason switched hands. So then I was mad at him because I'm like, you're technically trying to hurt me now. Because he switched to lefts and actually got me in trouble. I'd never admit that, but I was in trouble with that one because he was a righty and he switched to lefts and I had a pretty good hold on his right and he switched to lefts. And
but a lot of it, is it like two male gorillas where it's a lot of noise and stuff? Or is there because you get a punch to the face and...
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Okay.
My first fight ever, I was just about to turn 16. I was trying to convince myself to get into a fight. And I finally convinced myself, okay. And I turned around to the guy and was like, let's go. And I got to go. And he hit me so hard, broke my nose, like just shattered it. And then I was still standing there. So then he hits me again in the exact, like right down Broadway.
Oh my
Bam.
gosh.
My whole face goes like so hot. Like it's just like so hot. And I was fortunate. I was big and strong. And I end up kind of grabbing him and wrestling him down. And I end up on top of him. And he's yelling. And he's got blood. Like he's got blood all over him. And I'm like, I didn't even think I threw a punch. Like, I think I must have hit him pretty with something. And then I realized it's all pouring out of me, pouring out of me, covering him in blood. And there is a pool of blood, like 2.5 feet wide, just a giant pool of blood. And then blood from where we fought all the way to the penalty box.
Wow.
Yeah. And when we get there, I was so mad because the guy I thought I fought was another 16-year-old. And I'm like, can't believe he beat me like that. That's so annoying. I'm more than annoying. I was embarrassed. And then they announce they're like 5 minutes for fighting Shane Doan and then 5 minutes for fighting Kevin Sawyer. I'm like, oh, well, he's actually really, really tough. So it wasn't as bad as I thought.
But so you did learn to fight though. I mean, you learned.
I learned that it wasn't a manners contest after that. And I wasn't asking anyone. If I was going to fight you, it was going to be.
just going to go.
Yeah. So then you figure that out. I never got jumped really again. I might have jumped one or two people that I'm embarrassed about, but I didn't get jumped myself.
Oh my God.
Let's say something.
So we interviewed Landry Fields, general manager in the NBA.
Yeah.
And just talked a lot about, the stress of always constantly being in the public eye. It's one thing to be at the top of your game and playing in front of world audience. I mean, how did you manage that for so long? Because some people, they just can't handle it. And then their skills cripple too. Like they're amazing, but then you get in front of that crowd. Where did you go? How did you manage that? Not only manage yourself, but you're also the captain, which puts another burden of responsibility on you.
Well, and I was going to say, what's interesting to me is obviously your upbringing you were in a town of 75 people, and then to be thrust into what you were thrust into is like super speed, where next thing you know, you're like famous and people.
Yeah. You know what? I just like to play.
Yeah.
Like, I never really, in our sport, you get fortunate in the fact that you don't really notice the fans. There's an element that you get excited and you get really fired up. I know for playoff hockey, playoff hockey is a whole different animal, and it is so much fun to play. But I always was excited about it, and I never, ever viewed it as something like that. If I wasn't good at it, I was in trouble. And I know that sounds like, well, I really did. I really didn't think that was an issue. And I did every single year think that maybe this is the year they figure out I'm not that good. Like every single year at the beginning of the year, you go into camp and you're like, maybe they'll figure out that I'm not as good as they think I am. Every single year, 22 years of doing that stupid testing day is the worst day. It is the worst day. I hated testing day. It's like a report card on if you did your homework, and it's all summer long. No matter what you did, you're like, I could have done more. Oh, I should have done more. And I hate it. That's a one day that I'm so glad that I don't have to do anymore. That day I don't miss. But I never was never anxious.
Well, I think and I don't know you as well as Brian, but the stories I've heard and the way you're describing that, there's a humility that I think, sometimes when people get so, I'm the best, that's when they actually fall pretty hard and pretty fast. But the fact that like every year they're going to find out that I'm not that good. Just even that response, like this, you don't think so much of yourself. You just love playing the game.
Yeah.
So I think that humility, and also the other stories and Brian, you probably have a couple of like how you just care for people within the organization, regardless of who they are and what they, but they bring something to the game.
If you're part of a homeowners association who's interested in saving money on home services, let me tell you about PIN Plus, the ultimate platform that brings neighbors together under one powerful concept: power in numbers. With PIN Plus, homeowners associations can now access group discounted pricing on essential home services, trash, pest control, pool maintenance, and so much more, all at unbeatable rates. The best part, PIN Plus is designed for you, the community members. Manage your accounts, pay bills, sign up for services, and discover exciting community-wide events, all with a simple tap of a button. Your entire community, united as one customer, allows them to negotiate fantastic deals with trusted vendors in your area. So why wait? Unleash the power in numbers today and transform your home service experience. Download the PIN Plus app from the App Store or Google Play Store, or visit www.mypinplus.com for more information. Now back to the episode.
I just have to say, listening to you talk about everything from equipment people to, there's a genuine affection that you have for people overall. And I've seen it, just a little thing like where I'm around some athletes and I said to you, we went to a movie or something. I don't know what movie we went to see, but I remember you paid for the popcorn, and the thing I was shocked at is going, I've always paid, whenever I'm with an athlete, is always like, and it was funny or it was dinner, something was paid for it. I just remember saying to Laura going, wow, he actually paid for that, and again, I saw his net worth and I knew it was way more than mine. But anyway, and then I just think being with you in places where you see people, and I think but it makes sense going, that's how you were raised by someone. And, we had Josh Allen on the show and I go, I do think there's something about that you were raised serving people and you realize somebody cleans the toilet.
Yeah. And your dad do that? He's running the place and he's picking up trash.
Yeah. That's one of the things that it's never ever been a big deal to me. And people like to make a big deal about it. And I always feel a little bit Like,
when did you realize you were famous, though? Because I mean, you've got babies named after you. No, you do.
You know what? When I got on that show, Man Tracker.
Yeah.
So my brother would chirp me. I have my younger brother is 11 years younger than me, and his favorite show was Man Tracker, and it's in Canada, and we're down here. The season was over, and him and his wife had just came down, and they were hanging out with us, and he was making fun of me, teasing me about playing hockey in the desert. Obviously, not many people follow hockey in the desert, and how it's a different environment than being, say, in northern U.S. or in the Northeast or in Canada particularly. It's a much bigger deal. He's like, but you think you're a big deal, and we're kind of not in a mean way, just having fun with me. And
as a brother does.
Yeah, in a great way. And he's like, if you're a big deal, you could get us on Man Tracker. I'm like, yeah, no. And he's like, no, you could get us on Man Tracker. Come on, let's see if you can get us on Man Tracker. I'm like, no. He's like, why not? Why not? Like, why not try? I'm like, because I don't even know how I'd even do that or what I'd even do. He's like, well, you can try. He's like, I would love to. That would be like so much fun if you and I could do it together. I was like, what? I didn't really. Anyways, I make one phone call. I called one person. I was like, hey, I'd be interested in going on this show, Man Tracker. Do you think there's any chance that my brother and I could get on it? And they're like, yeah, let me see. They called back an hour later, and they're like, yeah, we'd love to have you on Man Tracker.
Oh my gosh.
My brother's like, wait, now we're doing this? I'm like, hey, if you made me call, you're doing it now.
And the thing
we can't give any spoilers away. We gotta let people watch it.
Well, yeah. Well, no, I was going to say there was a point where his brother was gassed.
Oh, and that's so unfair because they gave us 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he had no chance to prepare. And we went 53 kilometers. So what is that, 30 some miles?
Oh, yeah.
And we went up 4,000 or 5,000 feet.
And being chased by a guy on a horse.
Yeah, and he had no time to prepare. I mean, I just finished the season. So, I mean, once I was still in shape and I could still, that wasn't an issue. He said he was tired in it 3 times, and 3 times they zoom right in on him.
Yeah.
And in an hour, that sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
But when it's over 36 hours, to say you're tired 3 times isn't that bad.
Yeah.
But
and I won't spoil it, but that was one of those ones that I could watch that once a year just to laugh. Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
So Shane, man, we could talk all day, and we probably will when we even shut this off, but you lead a lot of teams, and I think Brian was telling me a story recently where you took a team retreat up somewhere in Arizona, and some of the guys were commenting that this was the first time they'd ever done that. So I'm just curious, the number of teams that you've led, the length of time you've served as a captain, what are some leadership principles that even like business leaders, entrepreneurs, what do you think is important for good leaders?
Oh, well, I think the one thing above all else, you have to be humble. There is no way around it. If you're put in a leadership position, it's because you're capable. It's not like someone draws your name out of a hat and it's like, hey, we'd like you to be our leader. You've obviously accomplished a lot to get to that point where they're like, we'd like you to be a leader, we'd like you to be in this position. But when that happens, then you have to be humble, in my opinion. That's the thing that I found that I really valued as a leader, is that if you're the leader, you have to find the weakest link in your group. And
then kill them. I don't know where he's going.
This is going to be a great quote.
and make sure that the rest of the group knows that if they do anything to that person, that you have their back. And as you build up that person, they'll quickly no longer be the weakest link if you do it right and you spend time with them and they get them up. And then you go on to the next person. And that's really, in my opinion, if you have the ability to do that. And sometimes the person doesn't want to improve, doesn't want to take the steps.
But that's on them.
That's on them. But that still doesn't mean you don't defend them and protect them.
Yeah.
Because when the group knows that even the weakest is being protected, because in lots of situations, the group itself has a hierarchy. I love horses, and you watch a pecking order of a herd of horses, and it's crazy. And we do it as humans too. And if everyone knows that this person will be defended because for whatever reason, anybody that's in a situation where they're a little bit underappreciated or in a little bit of a difficult situation, if the leader takes care of that person, it sends a message to the whole group.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
And it works in a dressing room, I know that.
But so when you say the teams you led, so you, for Canada, Team Canada, you were the team captain.
Yep.
Any other accolades like that?
No, I mean, Team Canada was obviously
a pretty big deal.
That was cool. That was really special.
And then you got fired from Team Canada as captain.
I got cut. I didn't get fired. I got cut.
Okay, come on,
Brian. The only time, so I went to the Olympics in 06, and then I was a captain for 07, 08, 09 at the World Championships, which is different than the Olympics. Yeah. It's a total different environment. And then for 2010, I got cut from Team Canada. So I didn't get to go to the Vancouver Olympics, which was really that was a hands down hardest, worst phone call and hardest. I was devastated by that because I wanted to play. My first jersey was a Team Canada jersey. I loved the Olympics. I wanted to be in the Olympics in Canada. The only 2 times Canada hasn't won gold medal at the Olympics since 2002 was the year that I played on the team in 2006 and the year that I was a general manager of the team in 2022.
Oh, no.
Yeah. we can cut that out. We'll cut that out of this.
So, yeah, that's not, but hey, if you want to be a leader, I was the leader of that team, which was pretty special.
Yeah.
That is.
What it is.
Yeah,
that's
to be
really
the
special.
general managing. I enjoyed the managing side of the teams, and I enjoy that and seeing the way that works. And I've had the opportunity to do a few different things like that.
You scored, even with Team Canada, you scored one of the winning goals against.
Yeah, that was in the World Cup, which is huge. The World Cup is like the best players and it's the best on best. And we won in Canada, in Toronto. So I'm not I wasn't hard done by.
But that was by one of your goals.
Yeah, I scored in the third period to beat Finland. It was tied 2-2 and I scored that was cool because when I caught the pass, Joe Thornton passed it to me from behind the net. And when I catch the pass, I see the D-men's a little bit higher in the slot and I kind of have them beat. And Mika Kiprasov, who's a great goalie for Finland, I kind of give a little bit of a pump and he goes down and I'm like, oh, I just scored. And I hadn't yet, but I knew that I had him in a position that I was going to get around. Then if that D-man didn't come down quick enough and I had my body, I was able to protect it enough, I'm like, oh, I just scored. And there's a moment in my head where it was like, I'm going to score. And I did. And that was one of the cooler moments.
That's special.
Yeah, that wasn't in the NHL. That was with Team Canada, which was really special. That team had every single major trophy winner in the NHL on it. So if you want to be the best goalie, the best defenseman, the best forward, every single, except for the Calder, which was Rookie of the Year, but every other major award winner for that year, 2004, was on that team, which was really cool. That team was incredible.
So before we go, your son is also now playing professionally.
Yeah.
What's that like for you?
And how old is he's young?
Yeah, he's 21. What's it like? It's so cool. I didn't think I could get as excited as I get as a dad, you always appreciate your kids, but when you start to see your kids start to, whether it's my daughters or my son or either of my sons, when they do something and they accomplish something, I can't believe how excited I get about it. I get so excited about it. And it's been really cool. And to watch Josh kind of walk through this, I've really enjoyed it. To watch my youngest daughter, she's going away to school, and my oldest daughter's been in a couple different shows and stuff, and to see them have success, I had no idea that I was going to enjoy it like that.
And what's interesting though is, so before Josh got in, it was funny how even he was mentally preparing himself of how hard it is and that stuff. But you would say Josh has a skill that even beyond you, where he sees the game in a way that
his hockey IQ is elite, elite.
Wow.
I was big enough and strong enough, and I had a good hockey IQ, and I understood the game, and I loved to play the game, and without a doubt. But he sees the game offensively different and better than I ever did, and his hockey IQ is. Now, does he have everything else to catch up to that? We'll see. But if he does, then he has a chance to play. And you know what? Whether he does or doesn't, he has loved the game. That's the part that I'm always amazed at is hockey's been so good to me. Yeah. It's taught me more in my life about relationships, about leadership, about failures and success. It's taught me how to handle people, how to deal with alpha males, how to be in a situation where everything goes wrong, even though you did everything right and you tried as hard as you could and you still completely failed, how you win games that you don't do. It's taught me so much and taken my family and I all over the world. So I always tease, Josh, are you sure you want to play hockey? He's got a great heart. He's got a good mind. And I was like, you could do a lot of other things that are really good that could really have an impact. And he loves it. So
that's good.
Well, we need to wrap things up. The last story, my favorite Shane Doan story is, so Shane gets a signing bonus. You buy your dad a van.
No. I bought him a Grand Cherokee.
Oh, Grand Cherokee. I was thinking a van. No, he drove a van.
Yeah, he drove a minivan that was literally the wheels were falling off. We lived in a mobile trailer for the first 10 years.
So he gets his first signing bonus and he's so excited. He's buying his dad a car. Like that, to me, that's the dream. Like you'd be able to get your parents something. And what does your dad do?
He said, I don't need a Grand Cherokee. How about we get just another used minivan? We can find a newer minivan. So he took the Grand Cherokee back and got a minivan.
I just love that.
And haul more people.
Yeah. He's like, well, I mean, that's great, but I think we'll use a minivan more. So we'll take the truck back and get the minivan. And we got a used one, a really new used one. But it was like, oh, we don't need to pay for a new one.
Yeah. But I love that. I love that story of just how, again, that's his dad. And that's,
Yeah. Bernie and Bernice, they run a bed and breakfast in Canada, and they are just...
They do that now.
Oh yeah. And it's Taste and See. That's the name of their breakfast or their...
bed and breakfast.
And they love it. They love people. They're just all about relationships.
Well, so Shane, it's funny. I mean, again, grateful for your friendship, but then just, I was telling Bryce, I think watching you up close has been for me just really, I mean, it's been inspiring in the sense of going, we talked about just how you use power in a way that is positive. So you actually, it's like you said, defending others and treating people where they're seen and known and those things. And then also I just go, you always see the good in people. And so there's just that constant, and I go, I've watched where people haven't treated you well, but you still treat them well. And it's funny, that's why when you got hot, I'd love to see Shane Doan hot. So anyways, so Shane, it's just again, grateful for your friendship and grateful to be on the show.
Thanks for listening to this episode of More Than Profit. Make sure to check out the episode of Man Tracker we have linked in the show notes, and be sure to follow along with the latest as Shane steps into his new role as a special advisor to the general manager with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
To stay up to date with More Than Profit, make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, drop us a review so others can find us as well. Don't forget to check out our new website at morethanprofit.fm, where we have additional content and past episodes. You can also learn more about what's ahead by following us on Twitter at listen_MTP. More Than Profit is a production of Access Ventures and is hosted by Bryce Butler and Brian McKay. Our executive producer is Crystal Escobar, and our associate producer is Bryn McKay. Audio production assistance is provided by Resonate Recording. Our theme song today was No Man's Land by Slapstorm. I'm Bryn McKay, and you've been listening to More Than Profit.